Hello there. I am super excited today because our guest is someone who's been doing really unique things around the world in various places, including Hawaii and Tahiti. And she's just like one of the most beautiful souls I've ever known and had the privilege of being her friend. And so I'll just introduce her officially. Her name is Trish Regan. And due to a profound spiritual experience, Trish and her husband, Doug, jumped off the cliff in 1994 to move to Hawaii. And they began a completely new, extraordinary life. They facilitated spiritually based dolphin and whale swimming retreats in Hawaii, Tonga, and Moorea until 2020. Trish is the author of the book series Essential Joy, Finding It, Keeping It, and Sharing It, and many, I can't even tell you how many thousands of inspirational meditations, healings, and teleseminars. She just turned 80 years old, and she's more youthful and happier than ever. And she's offering coaching on youthing vibrantly. I got to get my tongue around that. But she's amazing. We're going to put her links in the show notes, of course. I'm so delighted to have her here today. Trish, I really want to welcome you with my spirit, my whole being, to say yes to your soul.
Oh, Tessa, it's so wonderful that you invited me to this. And you're one of our dear, dear friends. We've known you for many, many years. And I just love what you're doing in the world, too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, we met a number of years ago. And I think I've told you this. I know I tell it whenever I can, because a mutual friend of ours had a podcast years ago, like in the beginning days, and you were a guest on her show. And I heard your voice and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to know that woman. And I remember I reached out to you and we became friends. It was just so easy. You were just so generous. And I think that's another thing I'm just going to say that I really love about you. You have one of the most generous hearts and souls of anyone that I know.
Oh, and thank you.
I think many people are going to remember you for that.
Wow, you're sweet.
So, Trish, you jumped off the cliff. You had a big cliff that you jumped off of, and it was a complete unknown with so many mysteries, and yet you did it. So take us back to like just before that time where your world, what was your world like? And then how did this occur?
Oh my gosh. Well, I had been through many, many years of therapy and spiritual energy work to heal a dysfunctional childhood. And then I met my husband, my dream man, in 1989. And we got married in 1992, and we made a commitment to follow spirit, to follow our hearts. He's a very spiritual man, and I manifested him into my life. And that's what we wanted to do, to help make the world a better place. So in 1993, a year after we were married, our good friend Joan Ocean, who really began the dolphin swimming world, she began telecommunicating with the dolphins and telepathically communicating with them, and started doing groups and bringing people to swim with dolphins in Hawaii. So she came to California, where we lived, in 1993, and showed us a video of her swimming with the dolphins. So we said, well, we have to do that. So 2 months later, Doug and I went and we swam with Joan. The dolphins came in every day. And of course, it was absolutely magical, as you know, Tessa. And it was so magical. And I had been trained with Joan. I met her in 1983, and we were trained to be spiritual counselors and healers. So she knew that we had training, and Doug was in meditation group for many years. So she said, well, why don't you come and help me with this work? Because there will be many more people coming. And I, I had such a fear of financial security. That was my biggest fear of my life. So I was a dental hygienist at the time. I had a paycheck. So I knew what I was getting. Doug had his own business. So anyway, we went home and we said, Joan, we can't do that. No, I didn't feel ready at all.
I want that steady paycheck every week. I want to know exactly where it's coming, how much it is, all that supposed security, right?
Supposed security. But the next week after we got back from being with John and the Dolphins, I was driving over the San Mateo Bridge in the Bay Area, and a lightning bolt of white light went through my body. And I heard the words in my heart, go do this work. And I knew it was a very powerful message. And I had had two other messages like that were very, very important in my life. So I trusted it, went home and told Doug, and he said, well, we made a commitment, follow spirit. This looks like a calling. So we sold everything and we moved here in 1994 to work for Joan. We worked for her. And she said, well, I can't really support you fully, but why don't you do your own workshops too? So we started our own workshops 3 months after we got here with 3 people, and then it just grew and grew, and it changed my life and our life.
And the lives of so many other people, thousands of them. But I mean, literally, you went from dental hygienist and Doug was an engineer. Yeah. And then 3 months later, you're doing dolphin and whale retreats. That's a pretty big change, right? And you've never done anything like that.
Yeah. No, never. It was just a complete jumping off the cliff and trusting the universe. Yes. And it wasn't that easy for me. Fear came up. It definitely came up during that first year, especially. But every time I would swim with the dolphins, every day we would go out and I would hear the message in my heart, keep on going. You're totally supported every day. So it helped me to trust, even though we had jumped off and, it took a while to build the business, of course. But over the years, swimming with the dolphins, you learn how to go with the flow. And swimming with the whales, you really learn to go into the deepest part of your soul and to really discover the God within. So they have changed our lives. And I am not the same person that I was in my 20s.
Not at all. I mean, your evolution, it even continues. I've known you for a while now, and I know you've been through, whole rebirthing process. Do you want to talk about that a little bit now?
Yes, yeah. That was the most amazing thing that happened at the very end of all of our work. For 27 years, we had been doing the dolphin and whale swims. So on our last trip, on the second of the last day, we were out swimming with a mom and a baby whale, humpbacks. And we had been in about 3 times and got back in the boat. And then the captain said, well, you can go again. And I was just too tired. I went, because I was holding the hand of one of the women and it was a little tiring. So the group went out and there were just a few people on the boat. And then the captain said, you can go out and I want you to go by yourself, because he's a dolphin whisperer and he knew something was going to happen. So I went out by myself, and as I was just heading toward the group, it was kind of far away. The baby whale broke off from everyone and came right over to me and stopped right in front of me, about 4 feet, looked in my eyes directly and held the gaze for about 2 minutes. It was magical. And then when the whale went off, all of a sudden I got a pain in my back. And I never, ever had that. So I just had to wait and see and float in the water, and pain went away. And I swam with the whales. And then when we got back to the boat, there was this singer whale singing the whale song, which is so powerful. And the vibration just vibrates your body. And I burst out crying because the whale sounded like it was moaning, like, ooh, ooh, like that. And I started crying and I couldn't stop. And I asked the whales, what are you doing? And they said, we're blasting you out into the light of all possibility, beyond the matrix of the third dimension. And we're going to create a rebirth for you. And what happened was it took exactly 9 months gestation. I went through all of my past traumas from my childhood came up. I had to relive them, feel them, which is so important to feel everything. Then you can release it. So I went through my whole, everything that I had gone through for 25 years in therapy, it all came back. And I rediscovered, relived it, cleared it. And then in exactly 9 months, I was told that I was going to have, this is my day of rebirth. So I was out in the yard. I always sit in nature and we live in the rainforest, beautiful. I was sitting in the backyard and I didn't know what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, Goddess Pele, we live right near Kilauea volcano where Goddess Pele lives. She's the goddess of fire and transformation. She was at my feet. And then 6 ancient Hawaiian kahunas, which are priests in the Hawaiian culture, they were male. They came 3 on each side. And I kept hearing, I am the mother and the child. So I was rebirthing a part of myself, a new part of myself. And the Hawaiian elders helped to position the baby. I went through contractions. My body kept saying, if you just relax, it'll be easy. And it's such a metaphor for love.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so finally I birthed this beautiful light being child. And ever since then, I am so different. I started feeling younger. I started losing weight. We found a new, not a diet, but a way of eating. I weigh less than I did when I married Doug 32 years ago.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
I know. And I just feel younger. I look younger. I've let go of so many inner restrictions that I've had or belief systems about holding back and not being my true self. I just feel fantastic. And now I'm 80 years old and I feel like I'm about 45.
Yes, and I know there's more to that as well. Would you?
Well, ever since then, what I do is now I just pay attention. And this is something that can help your readers. That what I discovered is when I'm tense in my body or when I have pain, I know that it's hiding still an emotional trauma from my childhood. I still work on those things. And I'll tell you one process that I use to help to clear not only negative emotions, fear, anger, upset, or physical pain in my body. If you'd like to know,
I would love to know. I know our listeners would love to know as well.
Yeah.
So many people are, have chronic whatever it is, and I know that this can help them. So please.
Yeah, this is one thing I do. So let's say I'm feeling angry or upset. What will happen? I'll say, well, where do I feel this in my body? Or fear. Let's say fear. So usually where I feel fear is right in my stomach, in my abdomen. So I go into that area and I ask that area in my body, what do you need to say to me about this? So then I allow whatever I'm feeling, my fear, oh, we just can't pay our bills, or what's going to happen if this happens, or what's, all these fears. And I just let them talk until I feel complete. So then you're not doing spiritual bypassing in this way. You must allow your feelings to be expressed. So I allow the feelings. If I'm angry, I'll scream and yell.
I love it. Okay, so you're not like arguing with the voices.
No.
You're literally just letting them flow and you're giving them expression too.
Yeah. I'm listening.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to me? So that's so important. And that helps us to heal because we have to know what is bothering you really. So I listen until I feel complete. And then I look and I see, what does that look like in my stomach? Like if it's fear, it might be like a steel ball in my stomach. It feels like that, but it looks like that. And then I ask my heart to become a vacuum. And I see in my mind's eye, I see that ball melting and becoming liquid. And I ask my heart to suck that liquid up. And I see a tube going from my heart all the way down to the etheric fire purification in the center of the earth to be transmuted. So I breathe light into that area that I'm feeling it. And when I breathe out all that tension or anger or fear as a liquid that pours into my heart and then pours down to the fire purification. So I'm constantly bringing light into the area and letting go and letting go and letting go until finally I just see that area is full of light and love. And the process only takes about 4 or 5 minutes. So
that's incredible.
Yes. I highly recommend that people try that.
I think this is a beautiful process. I mean, I'm process oriented, so I know a lot of the way that you're doing this has real effect on physiology, on emotions.
Yes.
It's all of it, right? It gets it flowing and then the body can come into balance. And I love that it's only 4 or 5 minutes. Like anybody can do that. There's no excuse.
Yes, absolutely. And the important thing I think for people to understand is to follow your guidance. And I can tell you another way that I know that I'm getting my guidance from my heart and from my soul.
Yes, talk to us about that because I think there's a little bit of confusion for people. Follow my guidance. How do I know when it's my guidance? Is it, is it my gut?
Yeah.
Is it this? Yeah. So please.
Is it the ego mind? Is it the higher mind? Is it my higher self? What is it? So a very simple thing that I do that can help your listeners, I believe, is that when I go into my heart, I envision, and I'm very visual, and if they're not visual, they can feel. You go into your heart. For me, I see myself sitting in the lotus position and very peaceful, and I'm in like a small cave. I allow my heart to feel very, very soft and welcoming. So it's a small cave. My higher mind is kind of a dome of light over that. So I see myself sitting there. And what I see is that there is like a lotus, I'm sitting in a lotus flower. So the petals are coming up straight all around me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I will ask the question of my higher self, should I do this or not? If the answer is yes, the flower will open. And if the answer is no, it closes. And I can literally feel the freedom of the openness, or I can feel the contraction of the close. Wow. And so then that's how I follow my guidance. And I just ask, is it yes or no? It's usually a yes or no answer.
I love that. I know that that simple yes or no can get us out of all kinds of but what ifs and what ifs and what ifs, right? It's just really clear. There is one choice is an expanding one, expansive and open. Another choice is contracting.
Yeah. And whenever I feel my body contracting, I know there's an emotion attached to it. And so I can go in and ask my heart, Does this have to do with my childhood? And if it's a no, it's a no. Sometimes it could be a past life, that could be entering into my reality for a purpose to teach me how to release that and move to another level of being. And I think when I know that I'm really connected to God, when I am calm and peaceful, and when outer circumstances affect us, how they do, when an outer circumstances comes into my reality, if I get all upset about it, or if I'm worried about it, or I'm anxious, then I know I'm not really in my center. I'm being pulled out because my emotional body is pulling me out. And then I'll go in and ask. And, for your listeners, I would always seek help. If you can't do it yourself, I've never, ever balked at getting help from therapists, from body workers, from sound work, healing work, workshops, books. I don't read a lot now, but I used to read all the books, that would help me to discover, why do I not feel good?
Yes.
And the reason I believe from what I've learned over all the years is that most of the reasons that we can't really deal with life in a very calm and peaceful way is from either traumas from our childhood or from past lives. And so, if people need help to discover, why am I so upset? I mean, when I was 23 years old, I was raised Catholic, very strict Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived for the church. I lived for society, and I lived for my parents. So I had no idea what I really felt. I couldn't even feel anger or anything because that was a no-no, right?
Yes, not allowed in
Not
any way,
allowed.
shape, or form, right?
No. So when I was about 26 is when I started therapy and seeking the truth and learning about more metaphysical beliefs and spiritual beliefs. And I told God, I said, I want to discover the real me. And if I can go through all the pains and sorrows that we need to go to because we need to face them, if I can feel that pain and clear it and heal, then I will be able to be in service of others, and I can help others. And so that led us to our work with the dolphins, and I became a spiritual teacher, and I was able to really help so many people, and it's so fulfilling.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that crosses my mind while you're sharing here is because I'm sort of similar in that my journey started when I was younger, my journey to healing, right? Yeah. But I think that now we have people who are starting later in life because they didn't have the opportunities or they weren't in a big enough crisis, thankfully, to need to start earlier. But what would you say to them? Like if somebody's just now starting their healing journey, and they might be thinking, well, I don't have, 50 years ahead of me. What advice would you give to them, Trish?
Yeah, I think first of all, I would ask them to go to a bookstore that has spiritual books and ask their higher self to guide them to a book, because that's how I started. There's so many beautiful books written, and just look at all the titles and allow a title to jump out at them.
Yes, like maybe it's flashing or it's
flashing. Yeah.
That's the one I keep going back to. That's interesting. Yeah. But not from that place of intellect. I love calling in the high self for higher guidance. Than the brain can figure out. Yeah.
Because we have the ego mind and we have the higher mind. And the higher mind, I believe, is the aspect of ourselves that is connected to source. to the source of all that is. You can call it God, consciousness, source of consciousness, whatever that is for anybody. That is what sustains me, because I believe that we are an aspect of that consciousness. So to ask that higher being, that higher self, the part of us that is connected with that, to guide us. And that's number one, to ask for guidance, you know.
Yes. And to have that intention.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then be open to perhaps finding spiritual teachers that they can resonate with and relate to, that feel good, and perhaps see what they're offering. It's about testing many different things. I went through many testings of many spiritual teachers, and the ones that really opened my heart, those are the ones that I followed. And the ones that I felt, you know, just felt warm and fuzzy, and they had compassion, and the way they live their lives shows that they are true spiritual teachers, because there are so many out there, you know.
Yes.
So it's really, really important to just follow what feels in resonance with you. And that is number one, I think. Following your guidance.
I think what I'm going to highlight here is that's wonderful advice, and you put it very well. That where people can sometimes get tangled up and selecting somebody to work with is from that place of ego and, oh, but for example, I need to make money, or I need to grow so that I can have something. Right. And then if we're coming from that level of things, and we don't really get the bigger spiritual lessons. And so if we can come from that place of almost like innocence, I'm really asking you, source, universe, to show me who else I might be. Right. Or take me to my next level of spiritual awareness. And what's so great about when one has jumped into that, and maybe jumped off a cliff, I don't know, it might feel like a cliff or a big chasm that one's crossing, or it might feel like little baby steps, but there's an opening rather than a contraction, and there's an intention for almost like the betterment of your soul, not the benefit or the betterment of your car or your house or your bank account or something like that. So, and what happens, right? What we know what happens is all those things then usually get better.
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm a prime example. I think, really, because once you connect, if you connect with your heart and your soul and your higher power, whatever that is where joy lies. The joy is right there, because you come into a center, you go into the center point. It's important to be balanced with the masculine and feminine, the light, the dark, the spiritual, the matter. All that is to be balanced. And when you're balanced in that way, that is where you find that deep calm and the high joy. And when you act from that place, everything will fall into place. When you act from the ego mind, because the ego mind always tells you, no, you have to do it this way. You're wrong. You can't do it that way. You have to follow my guidance. And that can pull us off our center. And that can be words like, oh, if I do this, I won't make enough money, or, I need to be secure. And I'm happier than I have ever been. And we have less materially than we ever have. I'll just tell you
which is amazing. I mean, and you've had a lot, you had a home on Hawaii for years, like 24, 25 years. Yeah. You're still living on Hawaii, but you don't need all the bigness of what you had before. because you're living from your hearts and your souls. And if you wanted to create all that, I know you can, because you are a master of manifestation for sure. I've seen you create miracles, and that continues. But you really have become, I mean, you're 80, you've become this wise woman who is also beautiful and youthful and just full of so much compassion and care for people. I mean, when somebody goes out to find somebody to work with, I hope they find someone like you. I mean, hopefully I do that same thing too for my people that I work with, right? Like there is something in the magic of that love energy and the compassion energy that cannot be taught unless we hold that in ourselves.
Yes.
So, right, we're vibrating with it, and then there's something about being able to pass it on, and others can entrain from that.
Yeah. And, I love that you talked about the innocence, because, when I rebirthed the new light being part of myself, her name is Radiance. And what I heard from my higher self is that she's all about innocence and purity. And what that means is when we can find that center point and really make that connection to the higher power, whatever we call it, it is the innocence and purity of your true self. And that has helped me so much too, because I don't judge myself anymore, And the fact that I've been willing to go deep, and I'm still doing it. I still do it, even though we heal a lot of our past traumas, it's like a spiral. They can still come back, and kind of upset us, but you just go through and clear. And the more I've done that, I have no more pain in my body. I had a chronic pain in my neck and shoulder from my years as a dental hygienist. And all of that is gone now. So I just want to encourage people to not be afraid to feel the feelings of pain or abandonment or fear, or if you've been abused as a child, to allow yourself to use whatever tools you can, whatever help you can, to keep clearing that and never stop or balk at allowing that, because then you find the innocence and purity of your really highest true self. And that's the ultimate joy. And then when you act from there and you look for a job from there, or you look for how you can serve, and your intention is to serve and also be supportive. So you're giving and receiving, that allows you to find this highest joy. And it really is also about balancing the masculine and feminine within you.
Yes, and I know that's a little bit of a question mark for some people. Like, so what's the primary concept around that you'd like people to know today?
Well, what I have discovered for myself is that and this is a truth as well, that the masculine side of me is the part of me that takes action, that fulfills action. The feminine part of me is the intuitive. And that's the part where I receive the higher wisdom from my higher self. I can attune to my higher self from my feminine. I can learn how to receive. The masculine is more the giver and the taking action. So when you're living in the balance of that, first you can ask your higher self, listen to your higher self, follow your guidance, and then bring in the masculine to, okay, now what do I need to do? I need to make this call. I need to do this. I need to write this. I need to somehow create a way to fulfill what I've received from the feminine. So you use both of those. And, for most of my life, until pretty much I met my husband, I was working from my masculine mostly, because I really had to learn how to make it happen. You know, I became a dental hygienist so I could make a good living. I could do this and this and that. But I had kind of neglected my feminine that I had let go of when I was 3 years old, when I realized that, you know, my alcoholic father could not support us. So I moved into my masculine. I've got to make my life work. And then right before I met Doug, I went through a process where I rediscovered my little girl, my little feminine girl. She came to me as this goddess with, she had this huge dress that she didn't grow into, a goddess, you know, and I just allowed her to come back into my heart, and I cried. It was so beautiful. And then I became much more balanced with my masculine and feminine. So that's a really important thing too.
Yes, indeed, it is. And especially in the world that has been created, it's been a little topsy-turvy, a lot more masculine than feminine. But you are a shining example of someone who has been able to bring in and balance those energies and, you know, to show others it can be done, right? You can be successful. You can have an amazing life as a balanced person. Most of our listeners here are women, you know, so bringing forward the feminine, and that also helps them in receiving, right? Rather than just constantly the doing and the get it done and the lists and the forever structures. Structures and discipline are great. We need them, but we want them to support our feminine beings.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, so many women now are focusing on their careers in their 20s and 30s, you know, and so they are maybe using their masculine in more of a way, which is fine. But maybe now they want to find the feminine and find the spirit and merge the spirit with the matter.
Yes, indeed. And so, Trish, you're somebody that can help them do that. And I want to make sure that you have some time here to tell our listeners how they can connect with you. And you've got a gift for them. I'd love for you to share. Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm doing coaching, helping people to learn how to age gracefully and radiantly. And then my husband and I are coaching couples. Because we're more in love than ever. We've been married for 32 years, and everything about our whole life is absolutely spectacular. So we're doing that. And so the website.
Including, well, wait a second. You haven't said a word about this. I know, like, part of it is your sensuality and your sexuality, and that part of your relationship is alive and thriving.
Unbelievable. Yes. I mean, you know, ever since my rebirthing 3.5 years ago, when I let go of so many of the self-judgments within me, and of course the Catholic, all the thing about sex, I just let go, and I was able to now just totally express myself. And my husband is just an amazing lover. And yeah, it's just beyond anything I ever imagined. So that's a part of finding yourself and, you know, becoming balanced and allowing all the self-judgments and the negativity to flow away. It's wonderful. So the website that you can find our coaching is trishregan.com/coaching. Very easy. I also have a blog that I have written about all of my journey, and it's trishregan.com. And then the gift that I'm offering is called the Whale Light Activation. And this was a gift that was given to me by the humpback whales when we were swimming with them in Tonga. And they told me that they would take me through this process where I use whale song, and then my own toning, which is the high frequency tones together. And the whales take the person in this process through their body to discover, are there any blocks, like in your brain, in your mind? Are there any blocks there that need to be released? Or perhaps going through into your torso. What about your heart? Is your heart closed? And then into all your organs and your extremities. We take the whales and I take you through the body one by one and to help release the blockages there. So it's
Fantastic.
a very, very powerful process.
Yes, and some of the results that people get from doing that might include things like release of anxiety, let's say. So like
Yes.
chronic anxiety is, a thing of the past. And what are some other things that you'd like them to know are possible?
If you have pain in your body, oftentimes it may not do it completely, but it will help you to become aware of where in your body are you holding either past emotions or judgments of yourself or false beliefs. Usually, I believe that everything shows up in our bodies. And unless we release these, they bother us for the rest of our lives, and they affect our subconscious mind. So
Yes.
By allowing yourself through this process with the whales to become fully present within your body and to discover what's going on in your body, where am I blocked? And you can release those blocks, and it can often heal physical maladies too. So yeah, it's very powerful.
It is. Well, thank you for having that as your free gift, and we'll have the link to that in the show notes. And just briefly, why don't you share? So you said you've got your different coaching packages. You and Doug are doing a relationship coaching. And so that is for like couples who want to become closer. So just share a little bit more around that.
Yes. Well, everyone knows in a marriage, we believe that if you're in a marriage and you're dedicated to it, that you help each other to grow spiritually very much, because you understand that when your partner is upset about something, it's usually dealing with the past. Or if you're upset about something, it's usually dealing with the past. So you can look inside into each other's hearts and ask, well, what's really going on here? And then you can support each other in going through that. So you're not blaming each other for the pain. You're seeing what's the source of that pain. So what we can do is help people to discover what is really, really going on.
Yes, because it's not that easy to do that on your own in a couple, because the triggers come up, right? And it's like, I don't know what it is. It gets really frustrating. Yeah,
exactly. And we're just anxious to tell couples the little things that we've learned about each other or what to do. One of the things that we find is so helpful in our marriage is that we appreciate each other every single day for every single thing we do for each other.
Yes.
Like if Doug does the dishes, I'll say, thank you for doing the dishes. He'll say, thank you for such a great breakfast. Just the little things, the appreciation all day long really helps.
All day long. And I've witnessed that. I've stayed at your home. I know that is happening. It's such a wonderful, juicy environment, so loving to be in. And you have a lot of practices that are really could be super helpful to couples who want to take things to the next level.
We can also coach people who want to find their soulmate.
Yes, that's right.
Because I went through a whole process to manifest Doug in my life. It took 5 months, and I was guided to do a whole process. And then 5 weeks after I finished the process, I met my man of my dreams, my husband. So we can help people to learn what you need to do to be able to prepare yourself. Because, of course, we want to attract someone who is of the highest frequencies, who resonates with us, who's, a joyful, happy, wonderful, generous, kind person. So we have to be that ourselves too. So that's what we can do. And then to coach people how to live vibrantly. I mean, I have all kinds of things I can tell about.
You have many secrets. Yes.
I have a lot of secrets. Exercise, diet, that's, on the practical level. And I have supplements I take that I totally believe in. And I do use products for my face that I have learned how to get the least expensive parts. I mean, I have a lot of tips.
Using, for a deal. It's a real deal there that you've created. Yeah. You've got more than tips. And and I think, your offers are great. I'd love people to check those out. If you have any resonance here with Trish today, just such a beautiful soul. Check out her website, go there and sign up, do something with her. She's amazing. Wow. And I wanted to ask you, I know you've got a couple main messages that we wanted to make sure that people come away with today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say number one, if you have pains in your body or pains in your heart, you're upset, you have been and you feel abandoned, any pains that you're having, either seek help, like therapists or energy workers, body work, that is so important. Seek help, read books, go to workshops, follow your guidance to keep seeking help, because never give up. You will find the joy. You will find it. Just never give up. Do the inner work. It's all in your body. Do the inner work to keep clearing, so that you find your true self. That's the main message that I would say.
Absolutely. So it's a twofold thing. First, never give up.
Yeah.
And also that deeper listening, right? Like,
yes,
tune into your guidance and follow that, because that's never wrong.
Yes, never wrong. So even if it's scary.
Exactly.
We jumped off the cliff, sold everything, and oh my gosh, we didn't know when we moved here how we would actually make a living. We mainly followed our guidance, and then of course it just unfolded.
Step by step by step.
Step by step.
Yeah. So we can't always see how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the cruxes of a soul's journey. It's not about like a little nice, neat little ladder. Like, take these courses and you're going to graduate with a degree in such and such. It doesn't work that way. Life is not like that. And if we can open up and be that in that lotus flower, listening, watching those petals, that's going to really help us and take us to the people that will be profoundly impactful in our soul journey, right? That have been there a little bit ahead of us and that can guide us. Yeah.
And ask for help of all your spiritual guides, whatever you call God, goddess, all that is. Ask for help. Just ask. Show me the way.
Ask or shout it out. Sometimes I've had moments where I'm like, look, I need to know.
Yes, absolutely. Ask for help, really. Because I do believe we have beings of light that are just guiding us always. And we ask for help and just never give up. Keep on going. Keep your focus on the light and you will make it.
There you go. All right, Trish, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here today, for being you. I mean, I'm just so grateful that you're in my life. Wow. And I look forward to more years with you and playing on the island and in the ethers, whatever it is that we do. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Tessa. The work you're doing is so magnificent. I have watched you go through all of your growing and expanding, and now look what you're doing. You're helping so many people. I just honor you so much, and I really thank you so much for inviting me to this.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too. Much love, much light. Listeners, thank you for joining here today. I'm really grateful that you're here, that you're listening. You're waking up that inner you and your soul callings. And I wish you an amazing week until I see you again. Much love and much light to you as well. Bye bye for now.
Aloha.
Aloha.